good, y'all? Welcome to Conversation Piece. I'm Patrick Armstrong, and this is a show where we talk about the missing pieces of the conversations we are already having. I appreciate y'all being here, whether it's your first time, whether you're returning, whether you are choosing to stay till the end of the episode because we got some really cool announcements coming up. I appreciate you for being here in 2024, the year of the nap. Before we jump into this episode and this great conversation that we have, I just want to let y'all know that this Saturday, August 3rd, we are going to be at Arsenal Tech High School for the 8th annual City League basketball tournament. Very excited. We have more details that'll be coming out here in the next couple of days, but just want to let you know about that and to make sure you show up there. But speaking of all things sports, my guest today is the Chief of Staff and Strategy at Indiana Sports Corp, providing strategic guidance and operational leadership to support the organization in fulfilling its mission of impacting the community through sports. She is a board member of both Leadership Indianapolis and Downtown Indy Marketing, and she was also part of the 2021 Indiana Business Journal 40 Under 40 class. In addition to all of that, when she is not out being Indy's #1 ambassador, she's on the hunt for a soft pretzel. So without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to welcome Sarah Myer to the show. Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We were just talking about this before we got on here, but I like to give context. We have actually met one other time at an Indy Symphony Orchestra gathering. Shout out to Nietzsche Stapanukel for connecting us. We have a shared friend and one of my neighbors. So it's just fun to finally be able to sit down and have this conversation. And I appreciate you again for being here.
And that's Indianapolis. All the connections very quickly.
We all come from small towns to the big town and make the big town feel small.
Absolutely.
So I like it. I gave a little bit of an introduction, but for folks listening or watching who don't know who you are, do you mind sharing just a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. One, thanks for having me. So excited to talk to you. Yeah. I love the missing pieces part because it's fun to kind of uncover these things that are happening in our city because there's just so much happening. But I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Moved here to go to Butler University. So graduated from there, worked for Nuvo News Weekly, which used to be the weekly newspaper that told you about what to do and where to go. So worked there for 5 years, loved it, just learned so much about what Indianapolis had and what people were doing around town, whether it be music, whether it be sports. And then I went and worked for the Symphony. I oversaw their marketing. They do more than 200 concerts a year. So really what my life was really going towards was event marketing, event promotions, and things that were happening in the city. I just really wanted to be a part of what was giving back to the community and what people were doing. And then I found myself really wanting to do something different, really wanting to be a bit more of the community. And I had been volunteering for Indiana Sports Corp. I mean, when I was in school at Butler, I actually volunteered for my first Sports Corp event. It was funny enough, the 2004 World Swimming Championships at then Conseco Fieldhouse. So I had been volunteering for Sports Corp for the Super Bowl, for Final Fours, and they had a marketing position open. So I went for it, and I've been there since April of 2019. So I've been able to experience a ton in the sports ecosystem here in Indianapolis, especially a COVID impacted one. Yeah. So was able to work on the 2021 March Madness tournament when we hosted the entire tournament, and just so many great events that have been a part of Indy and helped us get back on track after COVID. And then most recently was the event director for the 2024 U.S. Olympic swimming trials. So just a huge opportunity there to grow a sport and again, to impact the community through sports. Indiana Sports Corp was the first sports corp ever created, actually, first sports commission ever created back in 1979. Yeah. Indianapolis was known as Indianapolis. Downtown was dead. There was nothing happening. And the city leaders at that time, who were in their mid to late 20s, came up with a sports strategy to bring sporting events, sporting venues, and sporting organizations to Indianapolis to help it grow, to help its reputation grow, to help the business grow. And so there are now more than 350 sports commissions across the country. So people have seen the secret sauce that Indianapolis has in using these events to build up a community. And so since then, we've hosted more than than 500 national and international events. And we are rolling. I mean, the next 5 years is going to be jam-packed with events. It was just announced that we'll host the D2, D3, and obviously the Final Four championship for men's in 2026 and women's in 2028. And we've got
first time ever they've all been in the same city, right?
So they've done it at a couple different times, but this is going to be new for Indy. And we'll also host so this is new though. The NIT will be returning to Indy for both of those. So NIT and WBIT. So just working on bringing a lot more events here. We announced WWE events. Yep. So also exploring just a lot of different things that we can bring to make sure that we're continuing to bring business to the city and impact the community.
I am here for it. The thing that sticks out to me first is that ever since you came here from Cleveland to Butler, you have not stopped doing things. And it seems like you have your calendar planned out for the next, 5, 10, 8 years. Anyways, I think what's very interesting is like you got your start with Sports Corp at the 04 Swim Championships, and now you just played a pivotal role in bringing the Olympic swim trials here in 2024. Does that feel full circle?
It totally feels full circle. It's crazy. And especially when I was talking to people who helped build the pool in Conseco, who also helped build the pool in Lucas Oil Stadium. So to be able to work alongside people who I was looking up to while I was just a, little college kid trying to find my way. And now I'm helping lead the event. It's incredible. And it just honestly shows what you can do here. I always try to tell young people, like, you can get involved if you put yourself out there. And that's what I was always constantly doing is, like you said, filling my calendar, trying to meet as many people as possible, trying to get involved and volunteer when I could. And it's definitely paid off because there's no way I would be where I am now unless I made those connections and built those relationships.
100%. You called Indianapolis a previous name, Indianapolis. What was your first impression of Indy when you got to Cleveland? Did you feel like this is a place I want to be doing all of these things and getting involved in? Or what was that first impression like?
Butler was kind of a bubble when I went there. And so I didn't really get exposed to downtown and really the rest of Indianapolis until I interned for the Indiana Pacers. So I was a junior in college and I went downtown and I was like, what? Like, this exists? There are other things to do. So again, it's all about getting out of your comfort zone. So I really thought I would go back to Cleveland. I thought I would get a job, be here a couple of years, and then I would just go back and be with family. But there's just something so special about this place and how much, how you can meet people, how much you can do in a short time. So I just kept doing things and getting involved and was like, I don't really want to move back. And so now, I will say too, I mean, when you make relationships and you meet people who become your family. So I do feel like I have family here, even though all my family is still in Ohio.
Does that drive come from the family back home in Cleveland? Like this drive to connect and kind of embed yourself in the place that you're in? Again, like you didn't realize, I will stay here. But something I found on the show for people who have moved here from other places is something hooks you, and it's different for everybody, but something, grabs at you. But is that like willingness to lean in? Does that come from where you've been and where you came from?
Yeah, I would say my mom is definitely the one that has had that influence on me. So my dad, like they both had great work ethic, but my mom is such an extrovert and she is just always talking to people. She's part Italian, part Irish. So like she's very outgoing. So I think I totally get it from that. And just, I get energy from being around people. COVID was very hard for me. When they were like, stay at home, I was like, what are you talking about? So yeah, I would say it comes from that. And just, my sister and brother are actually the exact same way. Just love being around people and meeting people. So yeah. And I think it's funny because when I was younger, like this is going to age me, but like you had to call people on the phone to make plans. And like, I was always the kid that was planning everything for our group of friends and, where we would, take our bikes and things like that. So it doesn't really surprise me that that's kind of what the role I'm in now is, telling people like, these are the things that you should be doing and going to.
Yeah. You sound very much like my wife. She likes to take charge like that. And I also remember when you had to, use the phone to make plans. There was a skating rink in Rensselaer that we would go to, and you had to pay quarters to use the phone to call your parents to pick you up. That seems like such
you aged yourself now,
I know,
too.
it's fine. My other podcast, we say we're not ageist, and I'm going to go ahead and bring that over to this show. We're not ageist here. Everybody, no matter when you grew up, what area you're from.
Hey, I'm in my late 30s, and I'm loving it. I've learned so much. I'm good with where
we're
I'm
living
at.
life, and like we said, your calendar's been full all this time. You've kept yourself busy doing things. I'd like to talk about or hear more about your time at Nuvo. I think it's interesting. You are very ubiquitous in like the sports world right now, and that's how I've come to know you. But you kind of got your start in the arts, like interning at the Pacers. But I liked reading about your time there. Can you share just a little bit about what you were doing there and what you learned over those 5 years and what you've taken with you that you tap into now in your role?
Yeah. So my kind of going back to my background too, my dad was actually a classical guitarist. So he was in a band. That's how he met my mom. He was playing in a bar. And then my brother is a professional pianist. He's a teacher at IU. And so I have a lot of music in my background as well. So I'm very passionate about the arts, but I grew up playing all sports, and then I swam through high school. So just loved all sorts of things and just kind of wanted to get involved in all sorts of things. But Nuvo was really attractive to me because it was always the expert in what to do and where to go in Indianapolis. And it was also very supportive. The editor at the time, he was very supportive of nonprofit organizations. He wanted to see nonprofits thrive in Indianapolis. That was his big passion. So it was awesome because as the head of marketing there, he said, I want us to be connected with as many festivals and nonprofits that are doing really great work. So if you can get our logo on their items and at their festivals or at their events, we'll give them free advertising. So I could literally go to like Radio or the Vogue or, Pride Fest or what have you and go, hey, we want to be a sponsor of your event. We'll give you free ads, trade that out, and we both win. So I met so many people that way because it was just like developing great partnerships and being able to grow our readership too. Honestly, it was crazy because we did grow at that time and we were a print publication, a weekly print publication, which was tricky. I remember when like our editors were all like uploading Twitter for the first time and like getting on Twitter. Like that was a crazy thing for them. They were like, I have to do this in addition to writing all of this content. So it was pretty crazy to see something grow like that. I remember too very, very distinctly when Sun King Brewing came on. And if you know me, I'm passionate about Sun King, but a big part of that passion is because I saw what they did to grow. I saw what they did when they started as a brewery. And when they started, they were like, if we want to be embedded in this community, we have to be intentional and authentic about it. So they would give free beer to a lot of nonprofits. They would really help other people grow to get people into their brewery. So like they really used kind of like basic grassroots marketing to expand their brand. And Nuvo was a huge part of that. So their like first anniversary party was just like this tiny tent in their like in their parking lot. And it was just so fun to be a part of a brand that now is such a huge part of the state of Indiana. So so that's why I loved Nuvo too. You could be so creative there too. That's the other thing about either working with Nuvo or when honestly, Sports Corp and the Symphony, my creativity can really grow because it's just my decision. And there's it's not really a corporate thing where you need a bunch of approvals or you can have ideas, you can bring a team along, you can brainstorm. And so I loved that part of it too. So the partnerships that we did were, we could get super creative on it and think about like, how do you like achieve your goals? How do we achieve our goals? Let's do it together and let's move quick. So that was also the nice thing is we could move quickly on a lot of different partnerships.
Well, it's nice at a grassroots level when you're at the ground floor getting that free reign to just kind of, see what works. And if it doesn't work, okay, we'll pivot. But you've been entrusted with this opportunity and this responsibility because people have recognized your work ethic and how hard you're going to go and how much you want to be enmeshed in part of these different places, the different stories, the communities that you are highlighting with Nuvo. And I know that I read that during your time there, I believe y'all won like an Artie award and you specifically were highlighted. And I was just wondering if you like remember that moment and like what that meant to be a part of something like that from, especially as like a nonprofit organization, because you go so hard for NPOs, like specifically, that's like part of your passion. And like, what does it mean to bring a result like that and be recognized in that way, particularly with the company that you've been, pouring so much of your heart and soul into?
Right. No, I mean, you make a great point. I mean, we don't do this for the recognition, but it's not a terrible thing.
I mean,
it's kind of nice.
Accept it, probably.
Yeah, especially too, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like when I work for a company or a brand, like I do put my heart and soul into it. I take the decision to work at the places that I work very seriously. I mean, I'm almost 40 and I've worked 3 places. So I'm there to really give it my all and to really be dedicated to it. I remember when we found out that we got the entire men's basketball tournament in 2021. So we found out in November of 2020, and I called my family and I sat down with my now fiance and I said, hey, like, I'm going to give everything to this because I know if this is successful, like this is going to change my career.
Right.
And that's kind of how I operate sometimes. Like
sure.
I can see the moments where it's like, if I put my all into this, this is going to have a really, really great result.
Yeah.
But I also I'm passionate about the places where I work. And like I said, I'm very intentional about making that decision. I'm not someone who jumps. Like I want to make sure that it's the right place for me and that it fills my cup. I take, fulfilling yourself very seriously. So.
Yeah. Well, you're the planner. You're making the phone call to make the plan.
Yeah,
so you're going to do the legwork and you don't, like you said, you don't jump. And I joke with my wife about this all the time, but it's like, okay, if you're going to make a decision, we'll come back here in 7 months because then you'll have made the decision. You'll have done the homework. But sometimes that's what you need to know, like, okay, I want to be as close to a sure thing as possible. Yeah. And when you're operating with not just one person or a team of people, but literally organizations and institutions across the country to do one thing, if you give anything less than your all, then cracks are going to start to show. And it's going to be hard to fill those cracks as you do that work. Yeah. I want to come back to the tournament, but I don't want to skip over ISO. Yeah. You said that from ISO, you learned a lot about specifically the MPO management side of things. Coming into the tournament, so you were Sports Corp 2 years then, right?
Yes. Yep.
But you had been with ISO for 8?
8 years.
Okay, so you had a lot of time there being director of marketing. What are you pulling out of that experience that you are like, okay, I'm glad that I went through this so I can be ready for this challenge of the tournament?
Gosh, you ask good questions.
Thank you.
So in 2012, I remember that I was actually at a Super Bowl party and I got a phone call from a coworker of mine at the Symphony. And she said, just so you know, don't stay out late tonight. It's going to be a rough day tomorrow. And we got into work at the Symphony. They had fired the CEO. They had fired 3 of the VPs. And I was 27 years old at the time. And the interim CEO pulled me into her office and said, so you're going to take over the marketing department. And we have an emergency board meeting in a few weeks to talk about the future of the Symphony.
Oh, wow.
So we sat in this emergency board meeting and basically were told that the Symphony was losing money, that it had been losing money for years, and we would probably have to cut staff, cut musicians, that we would have to cut the pay of everyone. I mean, think about being 27 and basically like I had been there for not even a year and I'm hearing all of these things about like, okay, you're going to have to make all of these hard decisions and we want you to be a part of it.
Yeah. Hey, we broke this. Can you fix it, please?
Exactly. Yes. So I think too, I mean, I do love being able to solve problems but that was a lesson in crisis management for sure. Crisis management, financial management. Because then I had to come back and manage a team. I had to figure out crisis communications of communicating to all of them that, hey, this was all happening and we were going to figure it out, but they were going to have to like help us in the process. And I mean, it's just crazy to think about that because we had a staff of 50, we had 80 musicians and continuing to communicate to those people. We don't know the future, but we're working on it is very hard. So I think fast forward to what we were dealing with COVID. Luckily, before I even went to Sports Corp, I remember, so my last interview was with Ryan Vaughn. I think I had already gotten the job because like I walked into the office and he was like, hey, this is your last interview. Did you just want to go like get a drink at Harry and Izzy's? And I was like, I think I have the job. So we sat down and he said, do you have any big questions for me? And I said, how financial financially stable are you guys? Because I'm not jumping to another place I didn't ask that question when I was in my mid-20s. I was like, how much do you want to pay me and when can I start?
Exactly.
So he let me know, he said, well, let me just put it this way. If I make a terrible decision, 50 times over, we'll still be in the black. I won't have a job, but we'll still be in the black. And I said, okay, that sounds great. I can work for a place like that. So I say all of that because when we did, when COVID hit, I mean, we were at the Big Ten men's basketball tournament at Gamebridge, and just to like see all of the dominoes fall and get all of the news that literally everything that you were working on was canceled. He puts it the best way. He said, I quickly realized that we were a nonprofit without a mission. Mm. And yeah, it like kind of hits you when you hear that, because it's like, well, then what are we going to do? But I remember being on an emergency board meeting 2 weeks after that, and the board actually committed to, we are not letting staff go. We are doing everything we can. So just to have that kind of leadership, I think too, what I learned from the ISO is, after we recovered from a lot of our financial stresses, we hired some really good leaders. And so I got to see what that leadership out of really hard and challenging times looks like. And Ryan, I knew before I even started, I was like, this guy could get us through the hard times if we need to. And he sure did. I mean, for us to bounce back from COVID the way that we did and to not lose any staff and not have to cut any pay was just pretty incredible.
100%. That's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
I think what's interesting, I had a bunch of things going in my head. All right, I'm going to move on because I want to get to it. But, okay. So you said that you watch the text messages going out, the news going out about COVID, like locking down in real time, tournaments going on. I remember I was watching an NBA game, watching those things close at halftime. Very interested because I was like, do I have to go to work now or can I stay home? So I worked at a bar in Chicago. So I'm like, I didn't want to go to work anyways. Can I stay home? But what is it? So you go from realizing that everything you've been working on has come crumbling down because out of anyone's control. Just a natural occurrence, or I don't know, not getting into how the pandemic started, but a pandemic happened, something that's outside of anyone's control. Like now things are slipping away. When do you start to see those things come back, and what was your role in pulling the tournament back here and getting it to be like, we can run this whole thing for you?
Yeah, I would say there were about 3 months of us just trying to get things organized and saying, okay, when things come back, at least we'll be ready.
Just as an organization, just getting both the ducks in a row.
Yeah. And then probably we had done a race called the Indy Ultimate, and it was a 5K every year. So we were like, we'll just keep planning this and we'll see if it happens in the summer, and eventually did, which was great. But the big one that was really what kind of gave us this positive attitude of what we could work towards were the Olympic trials, honestly. So July of 2020 was when we were contacted by USA Swimming that they were going to open up the bid process because they weren't doing the Olympics that year. So they said, let's get the bid process done for 2024. So to work on something that was promising you greatness in the future and promising you the event landscape in the future was really gave us a lot of hope. And that was something we needed around then, was hope.
Yeah.
And so Lily King lives in Indiana. She's a Hoosier and she's an Olympian, and she offered to help us. And so we did a video with her, and she kind of showed, people around where everything in the city and how easy it was to get around. But working on something like that was really amazing because we could think about what the future could look like if we could bring events back. And then the Big Ten, they had their football championship game. They had limited fans, but they said, let's keep planning. Let's go. Let's try and do this even if we can't have fans. So that was good to work on. But then in November was when we got the call about hosting the entire tournament. So in 2021, we were supposed to host just the Final Four.
Yeah.
And so they thought, hey, if there's a city that should do it, I mean, you're already hosting the Final Four, but we're all here.
Yeah.
You have the venues. Your downtown is basically a bubble anyway. I mean, the way that we have 4,700 hotels connected by a skywalk. So what other city really has that in their downtown? Right. So basically they contacted us. They contacted Visit Indy to see if we could all pull it off and figure it out. And I think we all knew that that was the opportunity to bring the city back. And so I think it was January 5th, we got to announce that we were hosting the entire thing. And I remember we announced it. It was like a Zoom press conference, of course. And I went to Ryan Vaughn's office and I said, hey, can you take a walk with me? And he said, yeah. So we walked downtown. And I mean, downtown at that point there were vacant stores. Yeah. There were it just was not looking great because there just weren't people working down there. Right. It wasn't active at that point. Not what it looks like now, but that's when we were thinking about, okay, like if we're going to host this, we got to go big. We've got to go big. We've got to get with the Arts Council and Gang and, the Cultural Trail. And we got to get all our partners that typically like we work so well with, and we got to make this city look great because we were about to host people for 3 straight weeks and no one was doing that in the country at that time. So that was pretty incredible to come together. And that was 70 days. 70 days of planning and getting all of that together. And then 3 weeks of doing all those things. And I mean, some of the artwork is still up from 2021, and which is great. And so it just felt like the way that we could give back to downtown, and what an opportunity. So I think once people around the country saw that we could do something like that, it gave them confidence to host during a pandemic. And coincidentally, probably a couple months later was when vaccines were more accessible, like people were starting to host a lot more events. But it really showed what Indianapolis could do and how innovative we can be. And I think that that's how we stand out so much against so much competition. I mean, there's so much competition out there right now. But the fact that in 2012, we built the first Super Bowl village. No other host city had done that up until that point. And the NFL wasn't actually very keen on the idea. And our leadership pushed them. And now that's part of the bid. If you're going to host a Super Bowl, you have to have a Super Bowl village.
Interesting.
Everything that happened with the NBA All-Star. I mean, to have a tip-off event at Bicentennial Unity Plaza, like no other city has done that. And then to build pools inside an NFL stadium, like these are risks. These are risks. And I mean, it honestly dates back to when we built the Hoosier Dome without a football team. I mean, it's like, it's taking these risks because we believe in what the city can do. And so I think, and they are risky. I mean, I'm telling you, the anxiety level to host 68 teams in a pandemic is a lot. But luckily we have that's the other part of it. And I think that's a big lesson learned with any job, but like you have to ask for help. You have to know where your weaknesses are and your gaps are. And you have to be willing to say, hey, I need help. I need people to fill in on this. And luckily in Indy, that's what people do. They step in when needed.
That's true. A lot of people say that come in from other places. It's all about the Midwest nice, but it's very Indianapolis specific. You said something about, I liked what you said about this is how we can give back to downtown. We're going through a really tough time right now. Everybody is. And if we can do this tournament right, we can give back to the community in this way. I know that's something you're really passionate about. What were those conversations like with the community as you're getting ready to be like, hey, we are trying to revitalize this area, but it's going to require us housing, taking over the entire city, essentially, the entire circle for 3 weeks. How do those conversations work with the people that frequent those areas? In the pandemic, I realized you're not frequenting as much, but like people are still moving around there. There are businesses there. How do those conversations go with the people directly impacted who may not have any tie to men's basketball or women's basketball? Yeah,
I think what's great about this sports strategy in general is that a lot of people have seen the impact whether they like sports or not.
Okay.
And so I think when we went out, and I mean, we talked to a lot of these downtown businesses and said, here's what to expect, and this is why it's going to be great. And we also had some funding to help do this artwork and help them with a lot of the signage and things like that to really, elevate the downtown. So I think it's all about communication too, and just making sure that everyone is on board. I think for even the swim trial, hotels. I mean, that was a 9-day event. So being able to communicate with the hotels and the restaurants and say, this is when you're going to expect a lot of people and this is how you should plan for it. Because, once they know what's going on and what to do, they're going to put their best foot forward too. So, I mean, that's what the Hoosier hospitality is all about. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think everyone immediately saw what this could do for our downtown, because again, I mean, any other city would have dreamed of having something like that in March of 2021. So I think what they wanted to know was just how can I be a part of it and what can I do to be involved, because it was going to be a jolt of business that they hadn't experienced in a long time. I mean, a lot of the hotels had to staff up pretty quickly because they hadn't seen that kind of tourism in months.
Very antithetical to what you think would be happening, during that time. I also heard in an interview you were talking about, running this tournament during the pandemic. One of the things that you really took away from that time was listening to your people. And you talked about your mom earlier, but empathy, how you learned that from her and how that showed up during that time. Can you talk about how you was it a learning to be able to listen, or what does that look like, and how does that show up for you in your role as somebody who oversees so many different people?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Because you're listening to the community, you're going out and listening to the community, but what does it look like when people directly underneath you are trying to share or shout or whatever it might look like, and you are like, okay, I have to ear here. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I've always been someone who just really cares about how other people feel and being heard too. I've been in that position of being the young person who doesn't feel like they're being heard. And also encouraging people to use their voice too. I think that's really important. I think a lot of the conversations around diversity inclusion are really important because there's just a lot of thought diversity that I've learned about too, that if you have certain people in the room, you're probably missing some perspectives. And so I think that's what's so nice about the committees that we develop around these events is it's a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds giving you ideas on how to do things better. And I think, again, the thing that you need to start with is you don't know everything and you need to ask for help. And I think when you acknowledge that you don't know how to do everything, life is just a lot easier and you're a lot easier to work with. So, I mean, even, staff members of ours that are in their lower 20s, I want to hear how they think we should do things. Cause I don't know the best way to do everything, I think it's having that mentality. And I've seen some leaders who haven't had that mentality and they don't get very far and they lose people quickly. Yeah. So I think, but it's also kind of having that conviction to know of what your vision and what you see for the event too. I think, especially when honestly, what's crazy is planning something in 70 days was really intense and really stressful, but it did force you to make decisions quickly. Right. So if you're planning an event for 3 or 4 years, sometimes those decisions, it takes forever, but we had to go.
Yeah. We got to guess yourself.
Exactly.
This time you didn't have that. Yeah.
So that actually kind of made it easier. And then you just had to empower and delegate. Hey, I don't have time for this. We only have weeks to do this. Go do it. I trust you. Yeah. So I think it's all about hiring people or recruiting people that you can trust to be able to carry out those kinds of things. But I mean, empathy is, I think if any leader can't have empathy, they shouldn't be leading. I think they need to figure out another path because you have to realize where people are coming from. And with empathy comes being a good listener. You have to make sure when it's time for you to speak and time for you to listen. Yeah. And a lot of times listening will do a lot more good for you.
I'm sure your time with the symphony bolstered some of that empathy building skill for sure as you went through that. And I think that's something that I've noticed through your career, even though you've only been at 3 places, each one of those stops has been, how do I work in the team that is with me or whoever might be there? How do we work together to make something better, more beautiful, more productive, whatever it might be? Yeah. And at each one of these stops, it seems to be an unparalleled success because you've tapped into this idea of community. And before we kind of get into what's just happened, what's coming up, we have a recurring segment on the show called Give Them Their Flowers, where our guests pick one person or a few different people who they think deserve their flowers at this moment right now. So I just wanted to ask you, Sarah, who would you like to highlight today?
I would like to highlight Ashleigh Newbold. So she is one of my teammates at Indiana Sports Corp, and she was a major part of the trials planning. She is so passionate about our community, and everything you saw on Georgia Street, from the stage, all the music, to the Eiffel Tower. I mean, that was her and her management of her committee and her work with a lot of wonderful community partners. And she is such a great person to convene people. And it all comes from this place of compassion and just a really, really big sense of pride for Indianapolis. So she gets those flowers for sure.
I love it. Shout out to Ashleigh. Had a chance to have a good conversation with her at the Meeting Planners International meeting there. So shout out to Ashleigh, and shout out to y'all, Kathleen, for having me. But yes, we will get you flowers, Ashleigh, for sure. Elevate your next event with Frida's Flowers. Go to friedasflowerindy.com to learn more. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So another thing something about Ashleigh that I learned too is like you, very busy all the time, finding ways to delegate because you don't have enough of yourself to be able to do all of these things.
Yeah.
And that means All-Star in 2024, and then also the Olympic swim trials. 2025, all of the wrestling. 2026, all of the college basketball and beyond. We talked about how the swim trials were this full circle moment, and you were able to be like, wow, 04, I was just the intern. Now look at me now. Do you ever have time to stop and reflect on the idea of like, I have helped, had a hand in bringing all of these different large things. I said it before we got to the flowers section, but everything that you seem to be involved in seems to turn into a success. The symphony has become something that is ubiquitous on the circle now. I don't know their business, what's going on right now, but they're doing a lot of really incredible things. Nouveau continues to put out quality conversations around what's happening in the art scene here in Indianapolis. Sports Corp, you are doing it right now. We just listed all the things. Do you think about that? Do you have time to think about that? Or is it the work and I'll think about it later when I'm done?
It's a lot of the work and I'll think about it later. That, like, you saying that is so awesome and so nice. So thank you. I mean, there's part of me that feels so lucky. There's part of me that's like, hell yeah, I worked really freaking hard for that. So of course that's what happened. It grew. It became what it was. But a lot of me is just, it feels so grateful to be able to do stuff like that. And I mean, Indianapolis was a big part of that, and the opportunities that it offers just being here. And I think people need to realize that. But I mean, it's a lot of work too. Yeah. So I think I step back and think about it, and it's pretty amazing. It's sometimes, I will say, one of the reasons I do work so hard is there's kind of this legacy here too, that if you're going to manage some of these events, you've got to do it to like top level of excellence, because there's people like Allison Millington, who ran the Super Bowl, and Mel Raines, who ran the All-Star weekend, and just even dating back to those people in the late 70s, early 80s, who did all of these things and made all of these things happen and convened all these people. So it makes you want to fight for it, and it makes you feel like it's a huge responsibility. So I think that's what drives me. I'm very much someone who I just want things to be successful. I want my team to be successful. Yeah. I love working with a team, and working on something together. It's funny because a lot of the things I've worked on have had like goals, and like I can't imagine myself not working on something where you're working towards it, and then you hit it, and then you keep, I remember so our old president, Ryan Vaughn, he went to a tech company, and he's leading a tech company now. And he said, one of the things I do miss is just in the event space, like we're working towards that event, and then you get the big celebration, and then you go to the next one. He was like, it's not really the same thing, like what I'm working on now. So it's just so cool to be able to do something like that, where you're working with a team and you're working on this huge goal, and then hopefully being able to celebrate in it. And I do love the thing about Sports Corp too, is you're helping someone else realize a dream too. And that's the people working on the event and the athletes. Sure. And so that's why the swimming trials were probably the most special event that I've worked on. Is we worked alongside USA Swimming, who they are so passionate about this sport and they so want this to go well. But then, I mean, the NBA All-Star was amazing, but they're not really competing, they're not competing.
There's nothing at stake, it seems like, in the All-Star
so
game.
like to see these athletes, and there's more than 1,000 of them competing for 52 spots on the team, that's just wild. I mean, they are realizing dreams that they've probably had for so long.
Yeah.
And I mean, so that was really special. And then to grow a sport was unbelievable. I mean, when we host Final Fours or like Big Ten football, they're amazing events. I love working on them, but I never think that through those events, I will help grow the sport of basketball.
Sure.
I think enough people have had access to the sport of basketball, but to have access to a sport that can save your life, like swimming, is just, it's different. So I think that's what was really special about it. So that was a long-winded answer
I love
to what you asked. But I try to stay grounded. I do think it's important to celebrate your successes, but I also think, you have to have a sense of gratitude and then a sense of what's next and what more could I do? There's always that question in my mind of what more can I be doing?
Sure. Well, I think it's great perspective. I think that, one, the swim trials were wild. I thought the prelims were cool, but to go to the finals and see how many people showed up and see half of Lucas Oil filled for this, I was like, I've been to in high school, went to swimming meets and been like, this is kind of cool, to cheer, but this was on another level.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is cool that this is here in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, I appreciate you bringing up legacy just in the event space here in the city. I do think that when you list some names, your name will eventually be listed there.
Thank you.
I know that it already has been because we were talking off air. I met with Austin of City League earlier, and he informed me that during one of the past Indy Classics, on the women's tournament, they named the teams after influential women in the city, and your name was one of the team names.
Yes.
So I think you've already left your mark in a really incredible way, and it's funny to laugh at. It's it's a basketball thing, but there's a graphic floating around right now. The 35 high school, the largest, 27 of the 35 largest high school basketball gyms are here in the state of Indiana, and I think that there can be no higher honor in sport in this state than to be named the team of a basketball team here in the city, and especially somebody, an organization doing a lot of good for the people. So I think that's awesome in terms of legacy. I think you've left your mark, and I think there's a lot more runway for you if you wish it to be so. Yeah. Even if you stop now, you've already set us up for the next 10 years. So we're in a good spot. For somebody, you've shared a lot of really incredible knowledge and a lot of really incredible insight to your own experience, and I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I know people are walking away here knowing you a little bit better, but knowing a little bit more about why we have people like yourself that go so hard for the city, and push to have incredible things happen here because there are incredible people here.
Yeah.
For somebody who is looking to get into the events space, how do they do that? What advice do you have for them to break into this industry and be like, I want to be like Sarah Myer one day?
Honestly, I always tell people, show up, step up. And I mean, half of the battle is showing up to something, but stepping up and raising your hand takes a little bit more effort. So I always tell people, if you're looking to get more involved, if you want to be in this space, go volunteer. Volunteer for one of our events. I've hired interns, I've hired volunteers just because I see the people who stand up and they raise their hand and they say, just please put me to work. I will help. And that says a lot about someone's character pretty immediately. I also think too, and this is maybe speaking to younger people, maybe some older people too, but go for things even if you don't think you're qualified. I think one guy that I hired, he during COVID, he worked for Amazon, and he was like, well, this has nothing to do with sports, and I'm just a little worried about getting hired. And I said, you went out and got a job during COVID while you were in college, and managing stuff at Amazon isn't easy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think sometimes people don't think that some of the things that they've done in their past can put them put them up for success in the future. So you don't always have to count yourself out because you haven't ever done sports or, there's a lot of transferable skills in the event space. You just need to be someone who is willing to learn and willing to work on a team, willing to listen, and put in the work, honestly. I mean, I'm not going to say working in sports is easy because it's not. I mean, you are the number one thing that we always laugh about when people interview with us is if they say, I want to work in sports because I really love sports. That's great. I am so glad you love sports. But I mean, if you love Pacers basketball, you probably shouldn't work for the Pacers because you're going to be there all the time and you're working and it's not like you're sitting watching the games. You have to work. So it's just one of those things where, you also have to level set with people of if this is the kind of job that they want to do, because it does take a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears. But I would say, all of that said, if you want to work and you want to put in that time, I think you can be very successful. I mean, I didn't work in sports until I got to Sports Corp. And it was funny because I remember I was talking to the head of the CIB at the time, and which is the organization that, owns the venues downtown. And he said, so you're the new marketing girl. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, hey, if you can sell classical music, you can sell anything. So, and I just lost it. And I was like, yeah, I'll take that. And I was worried. I mean, I was worried about being the girl from the arts that came in to help the Sports Corp market and get new events and do all of these things, but they're transferable skills. So I had worked in nonprofits. The Symphony is no joke as an events company. They do over 200 events a year. That is no joke. And so if you're willing to put in that kind of work, what can that look like at another organization? So I just say, don't hold yourself back, but also get involved. And gosh, we're in Indy. It is way easier here than a lot of other places. And kind of to put a little plug, we're currently recruiting. So we create committees for all of our events. So we're currently recruiting for the 2026 Men's Final Four committee. So people should definitely, reach out to us, check it out, because
Tell the people what they need to do.
Tell the people. Definitely reach out to us. I mean, we are always looking for people who are kind of willing to take that elevated volunteer leadership position and help us plan and help us make it a bigger event. We haven't hosted a normal men's Final Four since 2015. So we're really ready to show the NCAA what we can do. A lot of their staff came to swimming trials, and I saw them looking at that Eiffel Tower being like, okay, so what are we going to do? So I think they're excited to work with kind of this new wave of Indy leaders and volunteers. And we've got such talented people. So I just want them to know, you actually can get involved pretty quickly here.
I love it. Show up, step up, be willing to put the work in, and you never know. Just don't hold yourself back. What could happen? Mm-hmm. Sarah, I appreciate you sharing all of this. I have two quick questions for you before I let you go. The first one is, I believe I read your first ever job was at Don Pablo's. What is your favorite Don Pablo's meal?
Where did you find all of these things? Okay, what was the question?
What is your favorite Don Pablo's meal?
Oh my God, you guys. So, okay. So I worked there with some of my butler friends, which was so fun. But after a late night, we would literally just get the queso and the tortillas, and that was it.
All right. That's a good one.
Yeah, it was a great little hangover cure.
That's a staple for sure. All right. I appreciate that. I appreciate, again, everything that you shared. Thank you for taking the time to come by the studio and sit down and have this conversation with us.
Thank you.
Last, but certainly not least, we have all of these different things coming up. How, after we leave here, after we shut off the podcast player, YouTube, wherever we're at, how do we support you? How do we find you? How do we support Sports Corp and what they've got going on?
Yeah, definitely follow us on Instagram and all the socials. So follow me if you want. I'm posting about stuff and what's going on. I would say definitely, though, probably number one, go on our website, indianasportscorp.org, click the volunteer button, register to volunteer. It just signs you up for our email list, so you'll start to get all the opportunities of what's coming up. It's a great way to be a part of it. And if you can't volunteer, just come downtown. I mean, come downtown, support the downtown. There's so much great stuff going on, not just with sports, but with the arts and with so many other things that we've got going on. And just get involved, show up, step up.
That's a low lift, people. Get downtown and see what's going on down there. But go to indianasportscorp.org and volunteer. I need to get on there and sign up for the volunteer.
Yes.
I learned a lot of really cool stuff that they do for their volunteers. I think they're doing things a lot differently than organizations I've volunteered for in the past, so I'm excited to learn more. But
Awesome.
Sarah Myer, thank you so much again. Can't wait to see everything that y'all have coming up for us and all of the new things that you're getting ready to announce. But thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody else, episodes drop every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram at Conversation Peace Pod. That's right. It's Conversation Peace Pod now. Finally, you can also find all the archives and all the other previous episodes at conversationpeacepod.com. We are 4 episodes away from 100. We are doing a live show for that. This is an announcement, and I'm doing it very nonchalantly, but it's a super exciting thing. For 100, you're going to see more information on that later. You're also going to see us this weekend at Arsenal Tech for the 8th annual City League basketball tournament. Very excited about that. We have some really incredible conversations leading up to 100, so make sure you're tapped in with us. But until then, I've been Patrick Armstrong, and this has been Conversation Piece. See y'all soon.